Alrighty, folks. About 2 weeks ago on the Daily Financial News, I said I want to talk to more followers of one rental at a time, but there was a catch. You had to be willing to be recorded so we could share it with the world. And we have Jen and Kenny who are brave enough to said, yes, we would love to ask some questions, and we are okay with you recording it and sharing it with the world. So Jen and Kenny, thank you for being so brave. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for having us.
Awesome. Well, why don't you do me a favor? Just introduce who is Jen and Kenny to the world, your real estate background, and then we'll just get into the questions and see where this goes.
Sounds good. I'm Jen. This is Kenny, my husband. We have pictures of our kids drawing and doodles in the background in case they see this later on. They'll know they're a part of this.
Awesome.
So just a little bit about us. We're in the Bay Area. We got our first property in 2009. We had just worked a couple of years. So it was just the right timing, right place. We had no idea what we were doing. It was just the next thing for us as a couple to do. We were actually really worried about our jobs back then. We had just worked a couple of years. Then fast forward 2013, a family friend got into some financial trouble with everything that was going on in the world, asked us if we would be open to purchasing the house and then renting the house back to them, which we said, okay. So it kind of just fell into our lap. Also Bay Area. We also did not know what we were doing. So accidental landlords, I guess. And then that was basically it. You know, Kenny and I have always been into real estate, but thought that, only rich people could do it. We were always going to open houses to look for the move up house for us and always came back out saying it's too expensive, Bay Area. We could never do it. Let's just wait. And, head down, did the W-2 thing, no side hustle, just focused on building our career. 2020 comes along, right? The country shuts down. We were again worried about our job, but this time I had two girls. I think one was two and a half. One was 9 months, didn't even walk yet. And so I looked at Kenny and started freaking out. Unlike 2009, we could eat, ramen and spam all day long. Now I had to worry about fresh milk, fresh fruits and vegetables, these kids. So I looked at Kenny and said, we need to figure out what to do if things go sideways. How are we going to make sure we support these girls? So that's kind of what we did. And that's when we started really focusing on trying to find ways to make sure we were okay. At that time, we also did a cash out, right? Cash out refi. And that was mainly on our primary. And that was mainly so that if things went sideways, we would have some liquid cash to support and raise our family. At that time, we also thought, okay, if the housing prices do go down, we could do the move up. And that was it. But nothing happened. It didn't crash like you said. And so we ended up saying, okay, well, we're sitting on this cash. Let's do something with it. We ended up investing a couple of 2 homes in Sacramento. And then we were running out of money, which is something we want to talk to you about. And so then we started focusing. We decided to go out of state. So right now our portfolio is about 12 homes and we're mainly in Central Texas. That's just a little bit about us. And now we're just focusing on growing, getting some passive income, setting our girls up correctly. Be nice to not rely on the W-2, right? What did you say? Be
optionally retired.
Yeah, I mean, that would be nice now that the girls are older and I'm a soccer mom and things like that. So that's a little bit about our investment journey. How I found you is because when we were doing the YouTube University, I ended up seeing Reventure Consulting first. And I'm like, oh my God, Kenny, this guy has a crystal ball. I'm the smartest person in the world. He knows when the prices are crashing. He'll tell me exactly when to buy. And I showed it to Kenny. What did Kenny say?
I said no.
No, he's like, no. And then I think the YouTube algorithm got you on my feed and I clicked you. And then I found out you're in Bay Area. So that resonated. You had a W-2 before, that resonated. And then you had this easy concept. I didn't know how many rentals you had back then. So it was this easy concept of one rental at a time. And it takes time and it's painful when everybody in the world was saying, quick, if you are not successful in 30 days, you suck, right? So it just resonated, right?
Nice.
And we were in that meetup in Fresno. I vividly remember Henry Washington saying, you're going to come across influencers and people that talk to you. You really need to find somebody that resonates. And you were totally that person. And I showed you to Kenny and Kenny's like, what did you say?
I said, no, this guy's good.
And we watch you now. I don't even watch the news, right? I just watch you. And so Kenny's my filter, right? I pick up all this stuff from all over the world. And he's kind of like, this is garbage, but this is good. So that's a little
Nice.
bit about
Yeah.
us and our
Okay.
journey and kind of how we found you. And we've been with you for a year. This is really fitting because it's about a year anniversary with Orad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. That's a great story. Let me just make sure I have the kind of story straight. So you have a couple of properties in California, you're primary and then accidental landlord. You picked up 2 in Sacramento, again, single family homes. And that means you must have 8 single family homes in Central Texas. Do I kind of have that right?
Well, we went a little bit. We have Helmy in Texas.
We have 5 in Texas.
Oh, okay.
But before landing in Texas, we didn't really focus on one market.
Yeah. That was because of you. Yeah. That you
Yeah.
made us stay in Texas.
Yeah.
We were kind of just traveling east to see what we could afford and kind of like, putting a thumbtack on a map to see where it lands. So we were in Sacramento, then we went to New Mexico, then we started going to so it went all over the place until we found you and you said focus. So we have 5 in Texas, right?
Yes.
And then we have 3 like scattered, one in New Mexico, Oklahoma.
Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay. I got it. All right. So I have a decent picture. Go ahead and start asking some questions. Let's see where this goes.
When should I buy? No, I'm kidding. Okay,
So
go ahead.
I guess the first question is, since you did this while you had a W-2 and you were raising a family, so how did you balance W-2 REI and family time?
Yeah, that was really I got to give a credit to Olivia. It was really a partnership, and it happened, at least in our situation, where our skill set and interests kind of aligned. So I was all over the world. My job was to find capital, secure capital, whether that was selling software or private money or whatever, and finding deals. Like Olivia, she may have looked at the MLS 5 times a year. I bet you I looked at the MLS 5 times a day, many times. So I was finding deals and securing capital. Olivia was running the business, operations, double checking expenses. Like I think I said in my book, and I mean it, I had no idea, like at year 10, that our rentals were spitting off so much cash it was funding our next acquisition. I had no idea, right? I was heads down. And she's like, yeah, of course. It's been that way for like a year. Where have you been? I'm like, that's your thing, honey. That's not my thing. So the only way it works with you when you're both working, you're both raising a family, is you need to have roles. Right? You do this, I do that. And then I recommend you come together once a week. Like we would always go to, we're Bay Area folks, right? So we'd go to Milpitas 237, Ranch 99 Court, and we'd go to dim sum or, one of those Asian restaurants. And that would be our catch up. What am I seeing? What's going on? Does she want to tell me anything? What decisions does she want to run through? So we did that, man, just almost every week for years. So that's really how we were doing it. Because again, I was probably spending 45 minutes a day, kind of between meetings and between flights, looking at deals, creating relationships. And she was probably spending, I don't know, 2 to 3 hours a week, double checking, running numbers. So it was a very clear lines of, and trust was paramount. So that's how it worked for us.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So next question we have, we're kind of running out of dry capital from our cash out. What suggestions do you have to keep, our momentum going? I guess, is it really just saving up from W-2 or
first thing, Kenny and Jen, that I was thinking about, and again, I don't know any of your markets or any of your properties, but one of the things that I believe is, because now you're essentially are you doing self-management or do you have property managers?
No,
we have
property managers.
The Sacramento one you're doing, but essentially property managers. Yeah.
The first thing I would probably do is I would evaluate the 3 that are kind of scattered. I think it was New Mexico, wherever those other ones were. And unless they're performing out of this world, to me, I would probably look to 1031 out of that into a market where you have scale or you're looking to add scale, which for you would be Sacramento or Central Texas. I think that's an easy thing to do. Because having your chips too spread out, my world, somebody's ripping you off or somebody will rip you off. Okay. I believe scale brings just the ability to also manage, right? I can't imagine 5 different property managers. So in my world, you have, I mean, let's assume 2 of those could be 1031. So that's the first place I would look, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
That helps.
Yeah,
That helps.
that helps.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Is there maybe any creative uses on private money lenders? I mean, I think based on like a Sunday's conversation we had with
Your
with
experts, yeah.
your experts, basically private money lenders generally are for like fast in, fast out situations.
Yeah, it's certainly so. Again, yeah, I mean, in today's market with today's prices, it's kind of in and out, short 6-9 month terms. I will admit to I used private money and I paid them 10 or 12% back in 2010, but it's a very different market.
Yeah.
So it's not that private money won't do long term, right? I had 5 and 10-year notes with these folks, but it's really expensive today. Lending, is still, most people can get below 10%. So it's a nice skill to have. It maybe allows you to burr in and out of a problem property, but probably not going to do long-term private money, at least in most cases.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it my question now?
Yeah.
You keep on talking about the commercial lending, and I always thought it was for the big players. And then you had a video with Dion where you said, hey, let's talk about how it affects, our audience, which totally struck me by surprise, right? Because I asked Kenny, and Kenny's like, no, we're not going to be able to realize. So I wanted to ask you, what do you feel people like us or in our situation could do in this situation as far as commercial goes, right?
Yeah. For example, one of the things, again, you're in a great spot. So let's realize that, right? Getting to 12 rentals is better than most will ever do. So congratulations. But I mean, one of the things that I would look at is I would probably shop in Central Texas, assuming that's where you want to grow. Again, I don't know Central Texas from anything. I'm just assuming that is I would start to fish in the 5 to 20 unit buildings. And it's going to take you a while to learn that because there's not as many of them. But probably in the next 6 or 9 months, you're going to get your feel of that property. And then, oh, by the way, wouldn't it be great to repeat what I did in my first book, sell a house in New Mexico in 1031 and do a 10-unit building?
Okay.
Those are commercial loans, right?
Okay.
So I think that's an option you have in front of you. And let's be clear, if you had to sell 2 of your single family homes in 1031 into a 10-unit in Texas, that's possible. It doesn't have to be 1 for 1. It could be multiple. They're all rules. It has to be bigger, this, that, the other thing. But you don't have to do a house for a house, I guess is what I'm saying.
Got it.
Right? We sold a house, bought 13. We sold 2 houses, bought 12. We bought, I do think late this year, certainly all of next year, there'll be commercial pain. And I think residential is on fire. So I've been clear. My plan is to repeat what I did in that book.
Right.
I got all these houses. Let's call it 25 houses. I'm going to probably do an 8 to 10 ratio, right? 1 house, 10 units, 1 house, 8 units. Houses are going to go up. Commercial is going to crack. Wouldn't it be great to learn that market? So that's the first thing I would do. You're not in a rush. Your feet aren't to the fire. So that's cool. I would figure out which one of these 3 is the first one to get rid of. But I will equally go learn this other asset class in Texas because you probably never looked at it. That's going to take time. That's okay. But yeah, I'm going to certainly do it. And I don't know why others wouldn't.
Okay. And you said there was like assumable loans, right? I think you mentioned that.
There are. Yeah.
Okay. That was
commercial
weird to me.
loans.
Okay.
Yeah. Commercial loans, not all, but
Right.
most, in my experience, have a 1% assumption. Right. So
Okay.
what that means is you as the new buyer could pay a 1% assumption fee. Let's say the loan is 400 grand. You pay $4 grand. They probably check your credit. They do these things. And then the loan could be assumable. Residential, not that easy.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Okay. And another question is, I guess more with the single families, but I guess it could apply for commercial. But how did you get or find your seller finance deals? Since I know you predominantly shop on the MLS.
Which is kind of what we do,
Yeah.
right? And like a lot of other people, that's
Yeah.
all we know, right? How are you finding your deals? Because we're struggling with that. Yeah.
Word of mouth.
Okay.
It's the networking aspect, right? I'm serious. Tell everybody what your buy box is. I must have told, no exaggeration, 200 different real estate agents that I happen to be looking for seller financing. More than half blew me off.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say 30% of them said, tell me more. I'm not really familiar with that. So then you educate them. That's what you're looking for with an agent, right? Seller financing can be an amazing thing for some owners. Lower taxes, maintain income, reduce headaches. So again, this is a consistency and repeating game. Tell every agent. Most agents, I'm going to pick a random number, 90% either don't know or think it's illegal to do seller financing. You just have to just keep telling, and then some will ask questions and then you educate. And yeah, I've picked up, I don't know, 40 unit seller financing, mainly from agents that I know. And you just never know. Like the 14 unit deal that we did last year or the year before, that was an agent I talked to like in 2012. Right. So, I mean, you just never know when the payback will come.
Okay, cool. And then my question was, how do you know if you're over leveraged, right? Kenny's probably more conservative, you know, saying I need this amount in reserves. I'm like, no, the opportunity's there. Let's spend it all, right? Max out everything. So where is that balance? And I know it's situational, but how do you figure that out, right? That it's not too much.
For to me, the easy answer is either one of you losing sleep.
Okay.
That is really it. I don't think there is a formula, is a number. But are you losing sleep? I think your natural internal, I don't know what you want to call it, clock or rhythm, tells you when you're too close to the edge. And you guys just need to keep talking. And again, if one of you's uncomfortable, both of you are uncomfortable. You just have to communicate. That's how I operate.
He's helping me a lot because I want to buy everything. He keeps on saying no. So, but
Kenny, gotta control that woman.
I trust him, so I let him do his thing. I can't return it with a receipt, right? That's not how real estate works, right? So I try to calm down with that.
That's important. I mean, one of the things I haven't talked a lot about is, you know, in 2010, 11, when we were buying everything we could, Olivia had a veto, right? So again, think about this. I'm all over the world. I'm on 3 continents. I find this deal. I get it locked up. And Olivia has the power for any reason. She could say no. And the agreement was I couldn't question her. Now, of course, I tried to question her, but but yeah, I mean, we walked away from, I don't know, not a lot, but 4 or 5 deals because she was like, no, either in, it could have been over leverage. It could have been this, it could have been, but she had the right. So it has to be a partnership. It has to be lockstep.
Got it. We should talk more so you can teach me how to convince him. We should talk more.
Yeah, offline somewhere.
Yeah, offline after this. I'll call you. Okay, what about?
Oh yeah. So how long into your real estate journey did you realize that, you know, this real estate investing is actually paying off?
So it's funny, if you asked Olivia that question, she would probably tell you earlier because again, she was running the books. I was really oblivious until about year 10.
Okay.
I mean, so again, since I wrote the book, I've gone back and thought about it. Probably by year 5, it was meaningful, right? It was paying our mortgage.
Yeah.
It was paying for stuff. But again, right or wrong, I considered it a superpower. I was just focused that way. I wasn't looking that way. I trusted her to do that. But by year 10, it was clear. It was like, this is wildly above. And then by year 15, it's like, this is nuts. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just this year, I think rents went up like 12 grand. I mean, and that's just all positive. It's wild to think about.
I think you wanted to do this one.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, you know, besides house hacking, because, you know, we've already passed that bridge.
We feel like we have,
or at least we feel like we have. Probably Anna Kelly would disagree.
Anna Kelly would disagree, yeah.
She would disagree, yes.
What do you wish you could have done differently?
Yeah, so I will say this just because others are watching. My one regret in real estate is I didn't house hack a 4-plex.
Yeah.
When I was first able to. I could have probably bought something when I was 22 or 23, having credit, having income. That is clearly a regret of mine. My life would be fundamentally different. Other regrets as far as real estate investing goes. I didn't enjoy the journey. I was so focused on the next thing that I didn't appreciate where like today, you guys are at 12 and you're thinking about the next 12, but you got to appreciate what you've already accomplished, right? That's pretty spectacular. I probably should have looked or understood 1031 earlier. I got lucky, right? I went to that Bruce Norris event. If I don't go to that one meetup in San Jose, California, I'm probably still working, right? Because, you know, Bruce Norris, California Crash was a I don't know, a thing he put out. And I'm like, God damn, that guy's smart. I better go figure out what Fresno's affordability is. Oh my God, it's 18. Are you kidding me? Honey, we're selling. We're 1031. So, you know, that was interesting. The other thing is I wish I would have documented our story earlier. Right? Because I don't start documenting, I don't start writing for Bigger Pockets until, I don't know, 2009 or 10. You know, we already had a decent portfolio. I wish I knew more, like if I remembered the earlier stuff. I wish I had a picture in front of my rentals. I would love to look at a 30-year-old Zuber in front of Norris Drive. Man, that's so frustrating. Yeah, so I guess I didn't enjoy the journey enough.
Okay.
Because it's slow. It's so slow the first 5 years. And then it picks up, and then it really picks up. But when you're here, you know, I wish I had more memories of the first 5 years, even though it was that slow.
Okay.
Okay. And then
I think this is our last question.
Our last question we have, you know, obviously in addition to you, in terms of getting economic and financial news, who else would you recommend that we follow or listen to?
Yeah, so I like people that are extremely smart and disagree, or I disagree with sometimes. I like Danielle DiMartino Booth. She's amazing. She's actually an ex-Fed contributor out of Texas. I do not always agree with her, but I always understand her logic. I think she is wonderful. Danielle DiMartino Booth. I like Mohammed El Alarian. Again, somebody I don't agree with. I think he's a little more conservative, but they're kind of opposites. Like, I like both sides. I like well thought out, non-fear mongering contributors. So those are folks. I like Mohammed El Alarian. He was at PIMCO when I started following. I think he's at some Cambridge or something now. And then Danielle DiMartino Booth. She's actually written a couple of amazing books. I think one's called Fed Now or Fed something. I think she's wicked smart. Those are two people I follow.
Okay. I think that's all we had.
And what about your girls? How old are they now? How old are your children?
They're 5 and 3. Yeah. I think they're turning 6 and 4 this year.
6 and 4 this year.
Yeah, but they definitely changed our perspective completely. Otherwise we probably still be working. I mean, we were always kind of W-2, head down, work hard, you know, the man will pay us back somehow. We never thought about anything. You know, COVID did a lot of things, horrible things to a lot of people, but it really made us hopefully set them up correctly, and hopefully made us like allow us more time with them in the future, right?
Yeah, I would get the game. So I like a game by Rich Dad Poor Dad called Cash Flow. I got the original version when it was $300. Now I guess it's less. But they apparently has a kids game. They're probably still too young. But one thing I wish I did with Teresa is talk about money more.
Okay.
Right? That was one thing I clearly missed. Just money, expenses, all of that. That's a huge miss. And you have that in front of you. Probably about 10 years old is probably about the right time. And then because they're decent, close in age, maybe you bring the little one into that. But that's something I would ask you to think about, is how to talk about money. And it's not allowance. It's money. And yeah, that's something I think more parents should think about.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Well, we'll take that. We actually bring them to open houses. I mean, they think it's fun.
Nice.
They like going around and touching
Where's
everything
my
that we don't
room?
have in our. Yeah, it's like a field trip every Sunday. They always say, "Let's not nap. Let's do the open house because it's a lot better than what we have." Right. Nice. So we're doing that actually every Sunday. They're enjoying it, but they don't really understand much of what's going on. But I
think that's good.
Zuber, we wanted to really tell you how grateful we are for finding you. You are changing. I know you probably know, but I have to tell you, you are changing lives. And Kenny and I are not super active in social media. You may not see our comments, but just know that you're doing that to a lot of people, especially your audience. you talking, like, I don't watch the news. We just watch you. Your experts, Ty, right? He said on Sunday that we basically email him every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
All these experts, all this great stuff. You're just doing amazing things, and
Thank you.
you should get way more than 50,000 viewers, way more. And you're doing absolutely great content. So we want to thank you. We're grateful we found you. We're grateful we're in your community, and we can't wait to party with you in Vegas.
Yeah, we'll get there. It's about 1,000 people a month, so it should happen this year. We'll get there, and then we'll start planning it. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate that, Jen.
Yeah,
that was very nice of you to say. And Kenny, thank you for keeping her in check. Let's not go full leverage.
Yeah.
we should. That's okay.
All right, guys, take care. Have a wonderful week.
All right,
Thank
too.
you. Bye.
All right, bye.